Grey Matter is one of those niche games only a few people might barely know about. It released in different territories from 2010 to 2011 for the PC and Xbox 360 and was written by Sierra and adventure game veteran Jane Jensen, who in her past created the Gabriel Knight series. As some of you might guess, yes, Grey Matter is an adventure game. The story is about a young woman and street magician from the US, Samantha, or short Sam Everett, who travels with her bike through Europe. But one day, somewhere in the countryside near the city of Oxford, her motorcycle breaks down. Luckily, Sam spots a mansion nearby and succeeds in getting access to that mansion by pretending to be the new assistant to that manor's resident, a doctor. If you now wonder how she can just do that and why all that might sound a little bit like a reminiscence of Frankenstein, I will soon upload another video about the main topic of Grey Matter, which will include the game's opening, or you can just check the Let's Plays I did on that game, one in German and one in English. But back to the character Sam Everett. To keep up the charade Sam maneuvered herself into, she really starts working as an assistant of said doctor named Styles. One of her early tasks is to gather enough test persons for a mind training experiment. The problem, Dr. Styles has a history of not being a beloved tutor at the University of Oxford, meaning that students, despite probably being in the need of financial earnings, show Sam very clearly they would never attend a project by said Dr. Styles. So what does Sam do in that situation to not blow her cover and to succeed in her task? She goes for the fresh meat. The freshman. And here are things beginning to convolute. And here's where I want to begin with why Sam Everett is my favorite female video game protagonist, why I think Sam is absolutely brilliantly written as a character. First, as you might have noticed, Sam seems like an adventurous but also ruthless person. She travels through Europe with her bike, pretends to be someone she's not to get out of a dire situation, and as the game progresses, starts telling stories which are often surprisingly fitting with other person's situations or opinions Sam is encountering at that moment. And Sam has very clear biases. The clearest can be shown at the beginning of the game when Sam encounters one of the freshmen she needs to enter Dr. Styles' experiment to not be exposed as a fraud, who lied about her being Dr. Styles' requested assistant, to not lose her new job, and the roof over her head. The freshman's name is Harvey Kinderman. He is from New York and he studies law. But he does this only to please his daddy and would rather prefer to choose a profession as a movie director. But he was driving his ambitions too far, and Sam finds him in a situation where another female student is keeping one of his tapes. As it turns out, Harvey was secretly filming said student on the toilet, claiming he had no bag swords and only wanted just the material for a film project. To win Harvey for the experiment, Sam tricks the female student with some sleight of hands, her street magic skills, to return the tape to Harvey, who agrees on entering the experiment, including being happy for having his tape back, and nothing more is ever said about the situation. And if you now think that is more than odd, wait for a later scene in the game. With the progression of the game, it turns more and more out that Dr. Styles suffers from the deadly loss of his wife several years ago. Also, someone is sneaking around the manor, and now it is not Sam who's meant. And someone starts playing schemes on the mind training experiments of Dr. Styles, which leads to Sam combing the manor to find leads. And she indeed finds a pretty clear sign of someone lurking at the opposite of Dr. Styles' window and peeping on him. And the reaction to that revelation is as clear as it never was before about Sam's true emotions. She gets angry. And as the player follows more and more interactions between Sam and others, he witnesses how Sam is just using people around her and expects not being able to trust anybody. And you can't really be mad about her, despite you realize you don't know anything about her, despite what happened since her motorcycle breakdown. She's in a foreign country, has no money, no food, no shelter, is all by herself, wears torn old clothes, and now she has improved her living situation out of a weird coincidence and a lie which worked out, but only temporarily in an unstable way. You might guess what the game reveals later, that Sam had a traumatic childhood and was alone early on, all on herself, struggling with changing foster families and having no place in the world. And that revelations mirrors so perfectly what the game has shown you before about her, but what Sam said wasn't the truth. It were things to better connect with someone she needed something from. And someone who she connected most with is the player, because Sam clearly uses people around her as a motive, and you understand her actions based on her situation you are shown and her history you are told. But roll back for a moment and think about Bioshock 1, where near the end many players loved the narrative idea of you being controlled by someone saying, "Would you kindly?" Even though over the time more and more criticized that the moment you know the twist and are freed from the control, there's no reason to follow the game as you did before. Well, in Grey Matter with Sam Everett, you have a character who gives you the reason, the explanation, and the model of how to act. And you act the way it is necessary inside the game to progress. Sam shows no problems about it, despite you the player might have a problem about it. I mean, there are many weird scenes in Grey Matter on a moral and psychological level, so the player might have regrets doing certain things, and which are questionable for different reasons. Nevertheless, throughout the game, Sam faces who she is as a character and gets shown a bit of her own personality from the outside at the end of the game. All in all, Sam feels like a very round character, perfectly fitting into the game with its characters, its story, its setting, and its tone as a bridge between the player and the game itself. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. I make these as a hobby to train my English and just talk about video games. Comment, like and subscribe if you had fun, and please stay tuned for more videos as I stay tuned for other small creators.